What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and this is Battlefield 3 Armored Kill. Hallelujah, about time we got Battlefield and Battlefield 3, what a concept. But it's going to be talking a little bit about the good things, bad things, and silly things I've noticed in the first day or two. Because it is still early, I'm not going to put any numbers or anything on this, but then again, I never do that because that's completely misleading, so make your own judgment. But to begin this video, I want to say, because this video will probably end up get more views and everything, and people who don't necessarily watch my channel usually will see this video more likely than not. Just to explain me in the Battlefield series, so that way you kind of understand where I'm coming at with my viewpoints and the things I'm saying. Battlefield 2 and Bad Company 1 were pretty much my first Battlefield games. I picked them up at basically the same time. And, you know, I absolutely enjoyed them. They're fun. I've played a lot of Battlefield 2, played a lot of Bad Company 1, played a lot more Bad Company 2, played a lot more Battlefield 3, just the way things have worked out in terms of my gaming preferences. But throughout the entire time, I've been an infantry type guy. It's not because I can't use tanks, I just don't enjoy them as much as running around on foot. As said, I'm not saying I run around everywhere. When I need a vehicle, I will use a vehicle because that's how you're supposed to do it, but I'm a foot soldier. But that said, I was still looking forward to Armored Kill very much so because, well, Battlefield 3 is lacking Battlefield. It was lacking Battlefield. But now I want more Battlefield than Battlefield 3 because Battlefield and Battlefield 3 is 10 times better than Battlefield 3 non-Battlefield Battlefield. If you understand what I'm saying. Which you probably don't. But anyways. You know, this is still very early, you know, I'm not putting scores or anything on it, as I said. Just making some analysis and some things I've spotted, and first I'll say these maps are even bigger than I expected. Dare I say Bandar Desert here is actually too big. It's basically needlessly big. To me, Bandar Desert honestly feels like they took a map that was perfectly well designed, you know, for the way they wanted to have it laid out, with most everything focused in the center section up here in this town area, which is great for infantry play, you know, for players like me. And then they said, well, you know what, this map isn't big enough for us to say it's the biggest map in Battlefield history and sell a whole lot more because everybody wants the biggest map ever, because that's like, oh my god, biggest map ever in Battlefield, holy crap! So they basically said, you know what, let's move these checkpoints and these flags, let's move them 25% further away, just because then it's actually the largest map in Battlefield history. Boom, profit. That's honestly what this map feels like. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, it's still too early to really tell in this case, because I think that will kind of shift around quite a lot as we get more time on these maps and everybody starts to, you know, find their way. But it just feels like it's just big for no other reason than being big. Albor's Valley, which is going to be the next map that you're going to see coming up here in about 2 seconds, which is going to be some infantry play that's a little bit more representative of what you're going to see from that perspective here in this DLC pack. That map is huge, still very, very, very large, but at the same time it doesn't feel huge. You know, I think that's a trademark of a really good large map, is the fact that it is large, but at the same time it doesn't necessarily rub your face in the fact, oh my god, look at how huge of a map this is, every 2 seconds, because that really isn't fun. There's a difference between a large map and a map that's just too large, which I think by and large the other maps I've played, which again is pretty much every one of them except for Death Valley, which I've played a little bit of, I just haven't played enough to really form a good judgment on. You know, they feel like they're the right size. Like they were that size because that's how they should be. You know, so overall the map design is really good. It is much better than the standard maps, except for maybe Kargan Noshar, but I'm really partial to those as a infantry soldier, where you can, you know, pretty much do anything and everything on those maps that you choose to. You know, but again, this is definitely much more like the traditional Battlefield experience, which is definitely a good thing to have that's represented finally within this game. So the map design's better, the maps look better. Do they play better? That's the $1,000,000 question, or I should say $15 question, or $50 question in Battlefield Premium, whatever. Yeah, what a great answer for you guys, right? Now I say that because I enjoy these maps. They are large. I want large maps because they're a great change from the tiny, medium, small maps that we have by default in Battlefield 3. You know, even with Back to Karkin, it's a great change of pace, definitely. Problem is, in my opinion, the game just doesn't set up well for these types of maps. And I say that because Engineer is just too good on these maps. I'm not saying Engineer is overpowered, nerf Engineer, oh my god, or any of that crap, but you look back to Battlefield 2, Anti-Tank and Engineer, which was charged with the repair, Anti-Tank obviously with destroying tanks. They were separate classes for a reason, you know. The way they have it in Battlefield 3, where you just have the Engineer class that destroys tanks as well as repairs tanks, it's just like, okay, really? I can just jump onto my tank after I fired my cannon, RPG you, hop back in, fire another cannon shell, repair my tank, hop back in, fire another cannon shell, and destroy you. Yeah, I just don't like the class system. I haven't liked the class system here in Battlefield 3 from the start, but I think you can really see the need, at least on PC with 64 players, which is what I'm playing on, definitely needs a more defined class system rather than trying to fit too many roles into one spot. You know, you can really feel it on these maps, in my opinion. You know, that said, they do play great. I definitely do enjoy actually running around in these tank destroyers, which, as I said, I'm not a vehicle guy, so to actually get me to want to use a vehicle, that's saying something. These tank destroyers are actually fun. Yeah, I actually said an armored vehicle is fun in Battlefield 3. Dare I say this is the most fun I've had in any vehicle in any Battlefield game since ever. I'm not even lying. They have so much power if you can make it work. You know, they're made out of glass, they're made out of paper, they are weak as can be. Plus they got those two little machine gunners on the front, left, and right flanks, which is just awesome. So like anything in front of you is just going to get completely destroyed, which is awesome. I like destroying everything in front of me because that's the goal, you know. These vehicles, you can definitely tell, have risk-reward. You know, I think the MBTs in Battlefield 3 were at their best when everyone was complaining about how weak they were. Because rather than just sponge RPGs, you actually had to move around the map smartly in a tank, which is how it should be. You know, the tank destroyers here bring that back a lot. You know, you got a lot of speed, definitely much more so than any other of the tanks or anything. It's kind of like going from a LAV to a BTR. It's just like, holy crap, I'm going 10 times faster now. What's up with this? You know, they got similar firepower, but the speed at the cost of durability. That makes it so much more fun, if you ask me. You really have to pay attention to where you're putting your tank, where your armor is in relation to, you know, the threats coming in at you. You know, with the MBT, I'd just probably roll right through this area, sit on the flag, and be like, hey, give me my 400 points for that neutralize and capture. But with one of these things, you actually have to think about it, which is definitely a welcome change. I just cannot get enough of these tank destroyers. They are fun as can be. I love the extra speed. I just wish I was a little bit better with it shooting down helicopters. But apparently that guy ran into a house. Even on Armored Shield, you still run into random crap. So yeah, I just wish that DICE would bring back some of these vehicles into the standard maps, because really, as good as Armored Kill is, despite the flaw with the class system, it just feels isolated. Like, there's nothing coming back, really. I mean, there's the 5 vehicle unlocks or whatever, but, you know, I would have rather had, you know, maybe like an AT-4 or whatever. You know, I think they should have at least added in one type of weapon or something that would transfer over and be usable on all the maps, because they're not going to add in the tank destroyers to, you know, any of the other maps, although they should totally put tank destroyers on Sane Crossing, because that would totally be awesome, actually. Much better than MBTs. But you know, it just feels like there's just not enough interaction with the main game, if you ask me, which is kind of sad. That said, I will definitely be playing Armored Kill a lot more than the regular game going forward, because we actually have Battlefield in Battlefield 3. What a concept. It's actually pretty freaking good. To those of you guys out there who said Frostbite couldn't do large maps, well, I think we have our proof that Frostbite can do large maps and do maps that are unnecessarily large at the same time. Oh yeah, Armored Shield is an absolutely freaking awesome map, even though it is a very simple layout. Simplicity can be brilliant. So, bye.
Objective taken.